Welcome to another edition of The Exotic Kitchen. I'm your host, Nick Payne, and today's show begins in none other than the Peruvian Amazon. We're going to take this boat approximately 2.5 days upriver. We'll visit with some tribes that were cannibals not too long ago. I'll show you some cooking techniques and a lot of other things that you might not have seen on television before. So sit back and enjoy this expedition to the Peruvian Amazon.
We set sail a mere 4 months ago. This jungle has been brutal on our men. The men have been attacked by all manner of Indian. Faces painted, half naked, they have shot our men with poison arrows. Our losses are great. We have been attacked by all manner of animal, including a monstrous snake, over 30 feet long. Jose Castillo, August 2nd, 1532. I had always dreamed of the Amazon. I have heard that it was dangerous, and reading the accounts of the Spaniards, I was determined to follow in their footsteps. This is the voyage, the expedition, to the jungle and the dangers that lie within.
Behind me is the river that I will be taking to visit the Yagua, the Bora, and the Witoto. This river is a popular river. It is popular because it is called the Ampiacu. Ampiacu means poison river. This river has been poisoned for about several hundred years because of the amount of mosquitoes that were here. When the Indians used to drink or bathe or use the water from this river, they would die in a matter of a few days. The Peruvian government sprayed this area and got rid of all the mosquitoes, or most of the mosquitoes, and although this river is no longer poisoned, it is still called the Ampiacu.
We spent approximately 4 days on this river. I was told there was an American somewhere deep in the jungle who traded with the Indians. I was determined to meet this man. His name was Herman Jessen.
Well, this is it. This is one of our first destinations here in Peru. This is right off the Amazon River. We are the guests of Herman Jessen. This island is called Jessonia. This is a place that he owns. This is the hut behind us that we're going to be staying in for the next couple of days. We're going to go upriver and visit with some other Indian tribes. So let me show you the inside of the house. And let me introduce you to Mr. Herman Jessen.
Herman bought this piece of land over 43 years ago and returns to it 3 times a year from his house in Los Angeles. He is the only source of used clothing for the river people, or the ribeñeros as they are called in the Amazon.
Candy, huh? You want to give it to them.
No, you go ahead.
¿Te has dado uno más o no? No. ¿Te has dado o no? No. Ya toma. Uno para ti, otro para ellas, ¿ok? Uno que llevar, ¿no? Ya, uno y 3 pantalones, ¿no?
Estoy escogiendo pantalón. Es la chica de...
They like the candy.
Yeah.
Sure.
What she said?
Come on, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You like one of these? I'll give it to you. I'll trade her for something. Here.
I said forest tusk.
How about some fish hooks for this, huh?
Yeah, ¿quieres
¿Qué costa?
give her some fish hooks?
We're trading with some of the local Indians as guests of Herman, and I've got a beautiful necklace here that she made, and there's a tooth on it, an animal tooth, and we're trading some wonderful fish hooks for the necklace, which they can definitely use in fishing. Here's your fish hooks. Something I'll treasure a very long time.
Good man.
Every day as I watched the different families of Indians walk past with their brand new gifts from the United States of modern clothing, I wondered whether or not these gifts would serve to help them or serve to change their lives forever. Every day we bathed in the river, and although I could feel piranhas nipping at the hairs on my legs, I didn't worry much because Herman had done it for many years. In fact, 40 years.
Well, the good and the bad news is if you love to spend time in the jungle, you have to pick up lots of new friends. And they like to sell condo lots on your ankles, especially your ankles. They just love. They're jungle mites. And it takes a couple weeks to heal, but there's really no way of getting rid of them. You like to spend time there. They live in the grass and in the leaves, and they climb onto your clothes, especially your socks, and burrow under your skin.
Kind of itchy, huh?
Oh, let's not even talk about it.
Very itchy.
Julio was preparing our lunch. Our lunch was usually obtained from the jungle. Here, we are preparing a land turtle. Margarita is preparing it by washing it in the Amazon, which they do every time they prepare food.
This is the feet of the turtle with the skin, and it's got the heart and tripe, many different parts that I showed you. She washed in the water, and it's mixed together with some spaghetti. We had a real heavy rain last night, and the guys are fixing the roof. We got a couple of leaky spots. They're repairing with other palm leaves that were made by, some of the finest ones are made by the Bora. They tie up the rib to the top with other twine and things like that, and pieces of bark to hold it in place. Manuel killed a poisonous Amazon viper. This red viper that's still partially alive right now was living just above our heads while we were sleeping all this time. And I'm really grateful to them because I actually wanted to complete my trip. I didn't want to end it so soon. So thanks to them, this little guy is either going to be food or a very small pair of snakeskin boots. You know, when you stay in some of these traditional huts built by the villagers, you tend to share your living quarters with creatures that are fun and some creatures that are not so much fun. Now that grasshopper right there is about 5.5 inches long, and right next to him is a little fellow by the name of a walking stick, and a few inches from him is a very poisonous, very venomous spider. And those little guys are just above my bed, which is right here.
By 9:30 a.m., it was already 100 degrees.
Jungle here. Why other this way have got the bird, the people here like this here. This is this way, if the bird, the deep the jungle.
Right.
This white here. This other this white here. What the army do people here?
The army?
The bird. All right.
Okay. So that's deeper in the jungle, but
Yes.
we're going to go this way to find your father.
Army.
Tu padre,
This is my father.
tu padre es aquí.
Yes.
It's a little bit cooler here now that there's a little bit of shade. So far we haven't seen any snakes or anything that'll do any harm to us, but with my big feet I'm tripping on everything. Stones and rocks, and Americans don't seem to be very good jungle people. We're going to continue forward on this trail to find Segundo's father, who makes sugarcane presses. He made the wooden press himself apparently, and is probably one of the only people in the village that press sugarcane into sugar and the other products that come from sugarcane. The teeth are made by hand. Somebody makes them by hand. El
No,
hecho
yes.
a la mano.
Yes.
This is the only machine of its kind in this area that presses the juice out of the sugar cane. This machine and his father have been doing this in this exact spot for over 40 years. This sugar cane here has been taken from the field another couple of hours walk from here.
Segundo's father made 3 different kinds of cañasco. That was the name for the sugarcane fermented alcohol. I tried it in the village, and there were 3 different forms: ginger, honey, and the regular cañasco. All 3 were very potent, but very flavorful.
We've spent approximately 6 or so hours getting ourselves set. This is our little Amazon lodge. It's provided to us by Amazon Tours. They were very gracious to allow us to sleep here instead of in the village, because in the village I have so much equipment and the house was about this big. So come on through this little lodge and I'll show you exactly what we have here. Okay, I'll show you where we're making the food tonight. Over here is a typical, it's a raised cooking area. This is mud, kind of like an adobe kind of situation where they put the fire above it. And inside tonight we've got a combination of bananas and fish.
This is the tapioca root. It's we call jungle bread, you know, casabe. This is usually we use it here in the Ampiaco River and the Bora Estuary. This is we making for tapioca root. You know, tapioca root like potato or manioc. That's uses the local people, the Indian, for going to the hunting in the bush. We take this for eating there. This maybe you take it for a couple days or maybe more. This is no problem. You know, it's much better you carry too heavy things.
So it's kind of survival food.
Yeah, survival food. I think.
Made of manioc, or you call it yuca.
Yuca.
Notice there's no windows at all here. No window here. No window here. A few screens to keep the mosquitoes out. Here we have the main room. Notice jungle boots, very necessary. And also mosquito bites, necessary. We got the main hammocks. It's a big hammock room. Come first light, we'll get up and go meet El Jefe, which is the chief of the Bora tribe, and see what they have for us to eat. Good night.
The next day, summoned by the chief, we began our 4-hour walk to the village. The village of Rio Nuevo is perfectly situated next to the Amazon. It provides instant accessibility for fishing and washing of game animals after hunting. The Bora have occupied this exact spot for over 500 years. A century previous, thousands of Bora were killed by malaria. The village is located so close to the river that during the rainy season, the Amazon will overflow its banks and come right up to the doorsteps of most of the houses in the village. These are shredded palm fibers. They are dried on a clothesline and used in the construction of hammocks. This is Deta. She is the sister of the chief, and this is the process that she uses to wind the palm fibers. All day, she rolls the palm fibers on her knee, transforming the fibers from this to a rope-like material. All day, the family made baskets and hammocks for us, in hopes that we would trade them for some fish hooks or candy that we brought with them. Money was absolutely useless here. It took Deta approximately 2.5 days to wind and weave the rope-like material made from palm fiber into a usable, strong hammock, one of the best in the Amazon. This hammock would sell for approximately $2. This bag is typical, also of Bora workmanship. This is Tanintia, one of the oldest women in the village. She remembers a time when her people were cannibals. I was invited to a celebration that apparently only happened once every 5 years. The Bora of the different parts of the jungle met at the big house. The families exchanged gifts, and the dancers announced the beginning of the festival. After each dance, the dancers are given a ceremonial drink of yuca and pineapple. It is a non-alcoholic beverage served not only to the adult dancers, but also to the children. This drink comes in a form of a thick porridge, which provides them with much nutrition. Every day, 5 hours a day, the women make this particular drink. It is served hot and very thick. Yuca is prepared many ways. It is made into jungle bread. Also, it is made into an alcoholic drink that's highly fermented. The chief checks every single stage of its development. After final approval, the chief leads his tribe into the ceremonial dances and rituals passed down by the Bora ancestors. A little over 60 years ago, the Bora were feared. They were cannibals. They were unmanageable. They were dangerous. The missionaries only reached them just recently. And now, although they do not practice Christianity, they are no longer cannibals. The different cousins and different families exchange gifts, simple gifts of yucca, which is jungle bread, pineapple, dried meats, and salt. Palm leaves and fibers serve as gift wrapping for the various presents exchanged between the families. An apparent delicacy here in the jungle are these huge water rats. This today seemed to be our only form of meat. This, I thought and was told, was deer meat. Although I was busy filming, I didn't have time to realize that it wasn't a deer at all. It was a sloth. Like the snake that bears its name, this anaconda, made of woven palm fibers, is used to literally squeeze the bitter juices out of the yucca paste. The yucca paste is then later used to make jungle bread. Once the yucca flour is dried and sifted, it is then pressed into jungle bread. The process takes approximately 10 minutes. This is the only form of bread the Indians have in the Amazon.
Here you have the finished product, the manioc bread, which is the bread that they use all the time. This takes about 5 minutes to roast, and it's very, very good. They work all day, and they're going to make plenty of bread for tonight's fiesta. Tastes a lot better than you would think. A whole bunch, they're going to make a big pile for tonight's fiesta. I got to go see the chief.
A circle of men in assigned seats sat around the chief. These were their seats for the whole week of the festival. The process of drying coca leaves takes approximately 2.5 hours. The coca leaves are collected in the jungle and pounded into a fine powder. Once pulverized, the leaves are then passed to another person whose specialty is to ensure the correct combination of leaves and ash. The ash used belongs to the Cecropia tree. The prepared coca leaf is used primarily by the men. It is used to stave off hunger when there is very little food, give them energy for long hunting trips. I observed the men also smoking tobacco. During the festival, these very same men stayed up, played drums, and sang and danced throughout the night. They had already been up for 3 days, and although I felt like I was their friend, it seemed that sometimes there was danger. They also consumed cañasco, which is the same cañasco that Segundo's father made in the jungle over 100 miles away. It had been traded upriver, and they had several bottles for this fiesta. In the many days that I was there, I learned many things about the Bora. Their dislike for missionaries, the changing of their ways, the shrinking jungle.
His father made the drums over 80 years ago. Each one of the drums took 1 month to make. The big one took 1 month, and the small one took 1 month. Constantly, 10 hours a day, every single day, for a whole month to make each one of the drums. They build a fire on the inside, and then they blow with a tube until the whole inside is all burned. And it's a very, very slow process. Not only do the drums have a male and a female, larger and smaller, but also the clubs are also macho. Hembre. So this is the female club for the female drum, and the macho club for the macho drum. It's mahogany with rubber on it. So a piece of rubber put on top of mahogany.
As we slept at night, through the rainstorm, through the thunder, through the lightning, we could hear these drums as far as 3 miles away. Every village had these drums. They were used as the main communication tools between villages. At night, we would hear the drums, the dancing, and the singing of the Bora. For the entire week we were there was never any stop to the music or the celebration. My lack of sleep allowed me to spend time with the chief and talk about many things. And with this knowledge, I decided to stay only a few more days and then continue upriver.
I want to thank El Jefe for allowing us to stay here many days with the Bora on the Grande Fiesta. He's been a special friend. He's shown us many different things that the Bora tribe use, and it'll be very close to my heart from now on. So we're going to go to another village, another place here in Peru, and I want to thank El Jefe. Gracias por todo.
Thank you.
Okay. All right? Yeah.
My journey at an end with the Bora, I prepared the boat and my assistants to travel the Rio Negro, farther up the Amazon, which was more dangerous.
This fruit is the guava. We saw that in another place in Peru. You eat only the skin of the seeds in the inside. That's the outside. That's the interior. It's really good. grape. They call it uva, which is the name for grape. It's a little bit different. You gotta peel it. Watch. It has one large seed in it. That's it. They taste pretty much like grapes do in America, but a little bit sweeter, and of course a different type of meat. I'll peel another one for you so you can see. One big seed.
The beauty, the mystery, and the danger of the Amazon. The stuff dreams were made of. Early Spanish explorers viewed the Amazon more as a storehouse of raw materials than as a place to be permanently inhabited. Having found immense Indian empires and plentiful gold in Mexico and the Andes, it was perhaps only natural for the Spaniards to suspect that there might be more golden empires to the east. After 3 years of preparation, my expedition would take me 3 months into the most remote part of the Amazon. I was there to film the cooking techniques, the food, and the people themselves. This series is the beginning of my adventures in Peru.
Well, we tried and failed to get permission from the Witoto tribe to go visit them and see some of their dances and typical food. Apparently they still don't like white people all that much. Nothing I can do about that, so we go somewhere else. Let's go. Up ahead, there's a woman cooking some fish, some piranha, some chicken, and some pork. Let's go in the house and look at a typical house and a typical kitchen here in this small group of houses along the Amazon. Ah, es bonita. Down here you'll see a typical kitchen. Typical people cooking typical food. And down here you have another one of those raised stove areas. This is made of mud. And then here we have pescado, which is fish.
Este es piraña.
Sí.
Este es el turuchuki. Este es el pollo. Este es el chancho. Este es la yuca. Este es yuca asada, se come. Y acá está el timbuche. El timbuche es esto, el chilcano. ¿Ya? Este el chilcano está con palometa. Acá, entre media hora vamos ya a pasar la comida con mis hijos y mi esposa. ¿Tranquilo?
Sí, tranquilo.
Tranquilo, me alegro mucho. Ya. Es el curaca.
No, llevo la escuela yo.
Está ahí, típica. Ven, por acá, te digo algo, no sé si espera.
Este es por pesca.
Ah, esta es la red que pescamos nuestro pescado en el río Amazonas. Con esto se pesca, ¿no es cierto? Esto me gano el pan del día, yo y mis hijos. Algo.
¿Qué algo estás haciendo?
Algo es algo, de que un galón de gasolina, de que nada me sirve, ¿no? ¿No? Claro, pues, ¿no? No como.
Santana.
Gamitá.
The mortality rate for the very young and very old is very high. This 9.5-year-old girl paddles her canoe in the most dangerous part of the jungle. This 16-foot anaconda was killed just minutes before my arrival. This woman plans to cook and eat this snake. This snake could kill a child in seconds. I took the river Ampiacu up about 3 days north. From there, I ended up in the village of the Yaguas. As I walked to the Casa Grande, there was nobody there to meet me or greet me. I heard the dancing from a distance and continued inside without permission to film the dance of the Yaguas. The Yaguas are a very ancient tribe. They originate from Colombia, as do the Witoto, the Bora, and the Okaina. Over 100 years ago, many of the Indians in the local areas of Colombia were enslaved to collect rubber from the rubber trees. Peru experienced one of the most unbelievable growths in their history. From the 1880s to the 1912s, Peru was the only source of rubber for the hungry American cars and the American industry. These Indians, along with many other tribes, were enslaved for long periods of time, collecting the rubber throughout the dangerous jungle. In 1912, an explorer by the name of Harry Wickham smuggled 30,000 seeds out of the country, and rubber trees were grown in Malaya. Thus ended the tremendous rise of wealth in the jungle area of Peru.
This is the famous cacao tree. It's famous because we have taken it to our hearts as chocolate. These little pods growing on this tree will then flower. This flower will then produce a fruit. Seeds will come out of the fruit, and the seeds are roasted and ground up, and this is where we get our chocolate. This is the only place we get our chocolate. This plant down here is called the garlic plant. If you squash the leaf, it smells like garlic. This plant is actually related to garlic in a distant way. The natives use this as a flavoring. They grind up this leaf and they use it for flavoring in their food. This tree here is called the paddlewood tree. These buttresses that hold the tree have been cut out. You see this right here? All the way down. That's been cut out because that small chunk is used to make the paddles that they use for the canoes. They don't have to kill the whole tree. These buttresses will regrow in about 3 to 5 years. The paddle is a very hard piece of wood, and the pointed end is used to jam into the ground so that the canoe stays on the shore. And the pear-shaped curved edge is used to help bail water out of the canoe. This is the paddlewood tree. This is a palm. See all the thorny bristles on the bottom for protection? In the center of the palm, you'll see a long spear-like branch. That singular branch is shredded, taken apart. The fibers are rolled on the knees of the women and made into hammocks. This is where they get the fiber for the hammocks that they sell here in the Amazon. This here is red wild ginger. It grows on this plant here in the jungle. And if you cut it open, you can smell, it smells just like ginger. It's used in cooking. It grows all over the jungle here. It actually doesn't flower very much. And it's also protected by ants. This one here is protected by ants so that other animals or bugs don't eat the wild ginger. It's collected and used in cooking throughout the region here in the Amazon. This tree here in the jungle is called the iodine tree. The iodine that we use in medicine comes directly from the bark of this tree. It's got the right color and the right smell. The Indians use the juice from the bark and the skin to treat cuts and abrasions here in the jungle. Once again, this tree is where we get our iodine. These dried leaves are from the cecropia tree. It's used 3 different ways. First of all, you can cut the tree down and get a whole lot of water out of the roots or the trunk of the tree. These dried leaves, and they have to be dry, are boiled and used as a remedy for arthritis. They put their hands over it or whatever part of the body they have arthritis in, and it seems to cure it. Thirdly, the shamans and the chiefs, el jefes of the villages, burn the dry leaves and use the ashes and mix these ashes with coca powder, the powdered, dried, pulverized coca leaves. These berries here are related to the citronella family. These small red berries are squashed and spread all over the skin, and when you do this, when you use the juice from this particular berry, the mosquitoes don't like you. There are other things that the Indians use for mosquitoes, such as termite nests. This is a termite nest up here on this tree. There are still a few termites left. The Indians break this off of the tree, they set it underneath the house, and they burn it. The smoke from the nest filters up through the floorboards and keeps all the mosquitoes away. This is quite dry and fibrous, as you can see. It's something we don't have in America, and it's extremely, extremely useful in this area because mosquitoes are a real pain in the rear and everywhere else. I've only been walking for a couple of hours, and there are so many trees and shrubs and flowers and herbs that haven't been discovered, and we're only using a small percentage of those that have been discovered. So maybe someday we'll get smart and stop destroying the rainforest. The snake you just saw on the trail here, the little brown striped one, is called a cordyceps. I was within about 10 inches from stepping on the back of this snake, and had I done so, I would have been dead within 24 hours. There's no way to get any help here. And thanks to my guide, Julio, back there, who's 73 years old, he saw it in time before I stepped on it. There are other poisonous vipers called the colibre and the bushmaster. These snakes will also kill you very quickly. So we will walk a little slower, keep our eyes peeled, because I don't really want to meet my maker any sooner than I should.
The dangers of the Amazon became more evident to me everywhere we went. And then there was the unseen, the Indians, the poisons, the toxins, the kind of things the Spaniards were faced with, I was soon faced with. The chief, the witch doctor, and most of the older men never spoke to me. They refused to look at me during the first couple of days I stayed with them. As I watched them dance, I wondered, would I be the very last person to see this dance? Would they change? Would missionaries bring clothes and religion to them? I felt like the very first explorers, seeing this for the very first time. Here were savages, former cannibals, former fierce warriors. In front of me, they stared out and wondered about the future. During the days I stayed with them, the music hypnotized me. This is what the Spaniards saw. This is what the Spaniards feared. The dance before war. As they danced around me, I wondered, would I be the next to die?
I'm on my way to visit a remote tribe called the Okainas. There aren't many of them left, probably about 20. We've just gotten permission to visit them. So come with me and we'll visit the small village of the Okaina tribe.
The Okainas were incredibly decimated by disease and slavery from the first part of the century, and I was about to meet the few remaining Okainas in the area of the Ampiaku River.
Hostel de cook. ¿Esta es la coca? ¿Sí, está para coquear? Y no tiene coca para coquear.
These are the manguare. Manguare is talking drums. This is the male, and the smaller one is the female. And they use this to communicate between villages. This is what they used between the many different villages to give us permission to come here and videotape this traditional Casa Grande.
Sí.
Esto.
Sí.
And I want to thank the chief for allowing us to see all these things. These are probably 100, maybe 100 or so more years old. This is where he's drying the coca leaves. We saw that earlier in another village. This later is then pounded and ground up with some ashes to make the powder that they use to alleviate hunger and to keep them active. It's like a form of coffee, so that it will allow them to work harder without having to eat too much food, which sometimes there is hardly any food at all.
Loco.
This is a handmade out of clay, and they make this and let it dry, and then also they fire it on the fire, and it's for yuca. For yuca. Yeah. So this is kind of like a giant heating plate where they dry the yuca up, and they make the bread from the yuca.
They utilize the ashes from a fire by putting the seats on top of it at night. Fire is used until it's completely out. Baskets above a smoldering fire preserve meat and fish.
This is ampiri. This is a mixture of a root and a form of tobacco. And when you put this on your tongue, it actually makes your saliva come out a lot more so that you can use the coca, the bola de coca. The coca ball that you have in your mouth, this forces your mouth to produce massive amounts of saliva. And this is impiri. Impiri? Ampiri.
The women spend all day, every day, making yuca bread. Here the chief's wife shows me the different steps that is used to make yuca bread.
Mucho pesas, ¿eh?
I traded fish hooks for a large quantity of guava. Guava was a jungle fruit that grew on trees. It produced a tremendous amount of sweet water and a fruity pulp. This was my main source of water in the jungle.
I didn't get a whole hell of a lot of sleep, but it was great seeing them and seeing what they're all about, because their way of life is disappearing quickly. So I want to thank you for joining me here on the Exotic Kitchen, and we'll take you to some other places a little bit later on.